The living room was silent, save for the subtle tick of the wall clock. Jungkook loosened the tie around his neck while his eyes scanned the living room. The maids were doing their work as they were preparing the dinner early today. Everyone was a bit surprised that he came home early the second time in a row, which was so unusual of him. He had come back early today, cancelled two meetings, shut his laptop before sunset. 6 months, that's how long it had been since their arranged marriage, and now he wanted to try. Take her out, talk. He set his suitcase on the couch and looked at a maid. Is Wayne in her room? Madam is not in her room, sir. She's been out since the afternoon. His brows furrowed. Out? Did she tell anyone? Did she want anything? She shook her head. She had an appointment, sir. An appointment? Jungkook blinked. What kind of appointment? The young maid hesitated before glancing nervously at the head maid, Mrs. Lee, an older woman who had seen more than her fair share of broken hearts in this house. She goes to therapy, sir. Mrs. Lee said gently, watching his face change. His heart skipped a beat. It had been 6 months since you were living as his wife in this house and he didn't know about this. Therapy? His voice cracked. Since when? For a few months now, she said almost cautiously. What? Jungkook sat down slowly as if his knees could no longer carry the weight of that sentence. You were going to therapy and he had no idea. Well, because he never asked. The maids exchanged glances. They have been here since the beginning and they have seen it all. This marriage from day one was quiet. Jungkook is a good man. He never shouts, never complains, but he is a complete workaholic. He always has been from the start. That's just how he was. And maybe that's why you had to seek therapy. You never told him because you didn't want to burden him, but maybe that's not the only reason. There's more to it, so much more that he is completely unaware of. The room smelled faintly of lavender, just like always. A soft diffuser hummed in the corner, and the leather of the couch no longer felt cold beneath you. It had been months since you first walked in, trembling, guarded, unsure whether you would say anything at all. Now you were sitting with your hands folded gently on your lap, eyes cast to the floor. The therapist gave you a warm smile. You are quieter than usual today. There was a pause for some time before you murmured, I'm tired. Tired in your body or your heart? That made you blink. You tilted your head slightly, thoughtful as if trying to decide where the ache lived. Maybe both. You said eventually, the corners of your mouth tugging downward, the way they always did when you were trying not to cry. The therapist said nothing for a moment, letting the silence breathe. You have learned how to be quiet in so many ways, she said gently, but silence can sometimes feel like armor, can't it? You didn't answer. You didn't need to. Your stillness did it for you. Has the silence at home been heavier lately? You nodded slowly, almost imperceptible. Does he still come home late? There was silence for a minute before you spoke again. Last night he came early. I think he wanted to talk. There was a pause. That seems to be a good thing. Yes. A faint smile flickered across your lips. I think he's trying, but it's too quiet between us. I don't know how to meet him in it. I don't know what to say when the silence isn't safe. The therapist nodded, folding her hands on her lap. Sometimes people don't realize how much effort it takes to speak until they've lived for years in a house where no one listens. But Jungkook isn't them. You bit your lip. What if he doesn't know how to listen either? Then maybe, the therapist said kindly, you show him, not through speeches, just through being, through staying. The tears surprised her. They came gently, not in sobs, but in quiet trails down your cheeks, like your soul was tired of carrying words no one ever asked for. It's not that he's bad, he's not, he's kind, he never raises his voice, never dismisses me, but he also never asks, never really sees me. You blinked slowly, trying to stop your voice from cracking. And that's what makes me step back from saying anything. I didn't want to stuck in that cycle once again. I still get haunted by my past. The way he made me feel like I was too much, too loud, too emotional, too needy. I used to be so expressive, so excited about everything, birthdays, sunsets, little surprises. I laughed a lot. I cried a lot too, but he made me believe that no one would ever love a girl like that. The therapist listened to you, silently knowing whom you were talking about. The guy who is the reason you are now afraid to express, the reason why your current marriage is suffering. So I changed. I tried to become quiet, easy. He still left. You let out a breath. He cheated on me, told me I was exhausting, and then he was gone. The words sit heavy in the air. The next part, though it was heavier, I found out I was pregnant a few weeks after he left. You whispered. My parents, they panicked. They said it would ruin everything, especially the marriage they had already arranged. You hesitated, your chest hurts, but you speak anyway. They made me end it, told me it was for the best, that I could start fresh with someone better, with Jungkook. And did that feel like a fresh start? Your therapist asked softly. You shook your head. It felt like another performance. One I had to get right. I'm afraid, what if Jungkook finds out about this? He'll leave. You sniffed quietly and wiped the tears from your cheeks. He's good to me. He's just not close. He talks about work, he eats dinner, he goes to bed. I sleep next to him, but I feel like I'm miles away. The therapist's voice is gentle. Do you want to be closer to him? Yes, you whisper, but I'm scared. Scared that if I ask for more, I'll be too much again, that he'll start pulling away. She nodded slowly. It's hard to ask for love when you have been punished for it before. You stare at the floor. It's not just him, it's me. I don't know how to ask. I don't know how to be soft out loud anymore. She gave you a moment. Maybe you don't have to speak loudly. You just have to start showing up, honestly, even in your quiet. Tell him the truth, and if he really feels something for you, he'll understand. You looked at her. Will he? She nodded, placing a gentle hand above yours. Trust yourself and him. I can see you wanted to be loved by him. The way you talk about him, I can tell he's perfect for you. Just try talking to him, telling him what you need. He'll understand. But what if? She shook her head, making you pause in the middle. Don't think too much. He's showing up because he wants to make this marriage work. You should try as well. You looked down at your lap. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was the time to keep your fear and trauma aside and actually talk. You were already a little nervous the moment you stepped out of the car. Jungkook's car was parked in the driveway again. He came home early. That shouldn't have made your hands go cold, but it did. Your thoughts ran ahead of you. Did someone tell him? Did he find out? You walked into the house slowly. The living room was quiet, too quiet. No maids in sight, not even the usual faint clatter of dishes or low hum of conversation. Your heart began to thump harder. You took a few steps forward, only to pause at the faint sound of utensils coming from the kitchen. You followed it, unsure, hesitant, and when you peeked in, you saw him in the kitchen. He was arranging dinner on the table, calmly, silently, sleeves rolled up, his hair slightly messy as if he had run his fingers through it too many times. He didn't look up until he sensed your presence, and when he did, his voice was even. Come, let's eat. You blinked, your lips parted, but no sound came out. He didn't sound angry, but he didn't sound normal either. Everything about this was different. You stood there for a second too long. He glanced at you again, this time with softer eyes. Go wash your hands, for it's getting cold. You obeyed quietly. The silence between you stretched even as you returned and sat at the dining table. You watched him serve food onto your plate, the clink of the spoon against ceramic strangely loud. You still didn't say a word, and finally Jungkook broke the silence, his voice calm but holding something new, something careful. Can you write something? He asked, making you look up, confused. He didn't stop serving. Whatever you want, anything you feel, even if it's just a sentence. You don't have to say it out loud if you don't want to. Just write it. He sat down across from you, not pushing, just waiting. I didn't know, he said quietly after a pause, about any of it, and I don't want to keep not knowing. Your throat tightened. You realized he found out about your therapy. You slowly lowered your eyes. The chair felt colder than usual. You didn't know how to look at him. You didn't know what to say, and maybe he sensed that too, because the silence lingered just long enough to become heavy. You go to therapy? You froze, your fingers instinctively curled around the hem of your sleeves. I. You started, your voice barely above a whisper. I didn't want to hide it. I just. You paused. You couldn't find the words. You didn't want him to think you were blaming him. You didn't want to make it look like he did something wrong. But before you could stumble further, Jungkook spoke again. I know I've never really given you the chance to talk, right? You looked up, eyes wide. You weren't expecting that. You weren't expecting him to say it so plainly, so honestly. I kept thinking that if you wanted to say something, you would. That maybe you didn't want to talk much, so I never asked. But today, when I found out, it hit me. The problem wasn't that you didn't talk, the problem was that I wasn't available to listen. Your lips parted and you shook your head quickly. No, Jungkook, it's not just your fault. You said, catching your breath. I just. He leaned back slightly, giving you space. His voice was soft. I know this marriage started like a contract, and I thought being respectful was enough. That showing up in the ways I could, financially, practically, was enough. But I want to try now. Not just go through it. I want to be in this marriage with you. Your chest felt tight. There it was, the thing you were always hoping for, but too afraid to want. His honesty, his willingness, and yet the secret still burned in your throat. But now you wanted to tell him the truth. You were ready to face it. It will either make this marriage stand with honesty or break it if Jungkook didn't want to accept you because of your past. I want to tell you something, you said, voice barely audible. Before everything else, before we try. He waited, patient, present. You looked down at your hands. Before this marriage, I was in a relationship. It was not good. It broke me. He made me believe I was too much, that I was the reason things didn't work. He cheated, left, and I got pregnant. You heard Jungkook suck in a quiet breath, but he didn't say anything. But he was clearly shocked. He let you continue. My parents didn't want that to affect this marriage, so they hid it. We terminated the pregnancy. I went through everything so quietly, and I never told you because I didn't know how. I didn't know what you would think, and I didn't think you would want to carry someone else's mess. The silence that followed was thick. Your heart pounded in your chest. You didn't dare look up. You were scared of what you would see in his eyes. You went through all of that alone? You nodded, he exhaled, and there was no anger in it, just heartbreak. I wanted to tell you this before, but never found the courage. I know I'm a mess. You wouldn't want a woman who was so broken and used before. Don't say that. Don't ever say that about yourself again. He stopped you in the middle. He reached across the table, his hand hovering for a second before gently resting over yours. You looked at him, eyes glistening, lips parted, stunned by the intensity in his voice. You are not used. You are not a mess. You are someone who has been through hell and still managed to stand, breathe, survive. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you unbelievably strong. A tear slipped down your cheek before you could stop it. I didn't want to be a burden. You never were. I wish. He paused, swallowing, his gaze fixed on your hand. I wish I had asked. I wish I had paid attention, but I didn't. I didn't see what you were holding inside, and I'm sorry. It wasn't just you, Jungkook. I didn't even give you a chance to try. I told myself not to expect anything, that it wasn't fair to ask for more in an arranged marriage, and slowly I stopped asking for anything at all. He stood, then walked around the table and knelt beside your chair. You froze, lips trembling. Can I tell you something? You nodded, barely breathing. I used to think being a good husband meant giving you space, not pressuring you, staying out of your way, but that was just an excuse. The truth is, I was scared too. You blinked. Scared? Yeah, scared of not being enough. Scared that maybe you didn't want this either. That if I asked, if I tried, I would find out you regretting marrying me. That confession knocked the air out of you. But today, when I found out you were in therapy, it broke me because it meant you were hurting right under my nose and I wasn't there. Not because I couldn't be, but because I never asked if you needed me. He looked up at you now, eyes sincere. I want to change that. I want to be better. I don't want to be the man you feel you have to hide your pain from. You looked down as tears fell from your eyes. You deserve much better. He put a finger on your lips, preventing you from speaking further. No, don't say that again. His voice was calm, but the tremble in it betrayed how deeply your words hurt him. I don't want better. I want you. You blinked, eyes wide, lips trembling under his touch. Not the version you think you have to become. Not the one who hides her feelings to keep the peace. Not the one who walks on eggshells because someone else once made her feel like she wasn't enough. He slowly pulled his hand away, only to cup your cheek instead, brushing away your tears with his thumb. I want the woman who still finds the courage to wake up every day, the one who has been through hell and still holds kindness in her eyes, the one who thinks she's hard to love but doesn't see how naturally she fills the room with warmth. You lowered your gaze again, your heart aching at how gently he was holding your broken pieces, not to fix them but to simply understand. I don't know how to unlearn the fear, how to ask without guilt, how to trust that someone will stay. He nodded slowly, leaning his forehead against yours. Then let me show you, day by day. We don't have to rush, we don't even need to call it love right now, if that's too much, but I'm not going anywhere. Not anymore. Your breath caught in your throat, that promise, simple, unwavering, felt like the first real home your heart had known in a long, long time. Why are you being so kind to me? Because you deserve kindness, because you have lived without it for too long. And maybe I wasn't there before, but I am now. A small broken sound left your lips, half a sob, half a sigh, as you leaned into his touch. For the first time, you allowed yourself to believe that maybe you weren't too much, that maybe being seen didn't have to come with pain. And that maybe this marriage wasn't built on silence anymore, but on understanding, on beginning again together.